Hi guys, it's Reese Creed and welcome to the Pathway Podcast. Today I'm so excited to talk to Alice Parks about being a woman in STEM and the path she took to get there. So, hi Alice.
Hi Reese.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for coming, and I'm so excited to get into this world. I was completely clueless, but I'm so excited to learn about it from you and just hear about your journey and stuff. So I normally start these podcasts with the question, where did you think you would go on your path when you were in school? So yeah.
I suppose in the early days of school, I didn't really have a plan like most students. I suppose I was mostly exposed to teachers. So I had always thought I might be a primary school teacher or some kind of secondary school teacher, but I had never really a set goal in mind before. And then as I progressed through school and started enjoying science subjects and math subjects and more engineering subjects as well, even, I realized that was more of my direction than primary teaching or something like that.
Yeah, cool. And did you always did you, sorry. And did you always know that like STEM was something that you could get into, or when did you first hear about STEM as a student?
I suppose I wasn't so aware of it in secondary school, and I don't think a lot of students are. It was more through doing subjects like I chose chemistry, physics, design and communication graphics in Leaving Cert level and applied maths as well. And through doing those subjects was when I realised what they were all about. But before that, hadn't really heard a lot about STEM, and I don't think a lot of students are exposed at that early stage as much as they could be. And especially at junior cert level, I did choose technical graphics, but didn't have as much confidence back then, realizing to me and to a lot of students, they might consider subjects like that to be boys' subjects and not typically girls' subjects. So as I gained confidence in myself and my ability in that subject, that's where I realized these subjects can be for me as well, even though I may not have thought that initially choosing it when I entered the class, seeing that there was actually only maybe two other girls in the class or something like that.
Yeah.
And I find that really sets girls back from choosing those kind of subjects. So I think, yeah, if there was more awareness in schools about how or what STEM subjects are, what choosing STEM subjects can do for you in your career, I think that would go a long way.
Perfect. And when you were kind of finished in school, how did you kind of choose what course you were going to do in college, and how did you kind of go from, obviously you had this major interest in all those kind of subjects that you like spoke about, but how
Yeah.
did you kind of put that into action to kind of choose a college course?
Yeah, good question, because I think this is where a lot of people are at their point at the end of school trying to decide what to do. And I was certainly one of those people that hadn't a clue or had tried out a few things. And my problem was I enjoyed so many of them that I couldn't pinpoint exactly what suited me.
Yeah.
So I kind of took a step back and thought, if I look at the subjects that I know I'm doing well in school and see if I can see courses that include those subjects. So that's kind of the direction I chose to go down. I knew I was enjoying chemistry, for example, physics, applied maths and maths. So I knew I wanted to go to the University of Limerick. So when I looked at the courses there, the kind of course that suited those subjects or included those subjects in the modules, when I looked at the course breakdown on their website, that's when I realized the course I chose for me would include all of those. So it was pharmaceutical and industrial chemistry that I ended up choosing then. So
that sounds really impressive. I bet you love saying that. You're like, yes, I actually study
It's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
that's so cool. And you talked a lot about like women in STEM and kind of feeling a bit like a kind of small fish in a big pond.
Yeah,
if that's
absolutely.
the kind of way to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering what you feel about kind of the gender gap in STEM and what your views are really about that.
Yeah, I think there certainly is a gender gap in STEM careers. We all know that. We can picture a scientist or an engineer when we're younger, and all we think about is maybe a male figure in those roles. And we don't necessarily initially think about the females in those roles because we're not maybe exposed to it as much when we are younger. And that's something that is slowly changing and I think has a lot of way to go, but we are going in the right direction with it as well. But I do think by encouraging more students at an earlier stage, and what I hope by talking even today would
Yeah,
encourage even two more students would be great, to enter the STEM field knowing that it is for you as well. You might initially think in your subjects in school, when you're not seeing there's many girls in the class, that might shy you away from doing them, but knowing that those subjects are available to you as much as they are to boys in the school,
of
you know,
course.
that once you become more confident in your abilities like I was, because I can definitely relate to the girls that maybe had looked at these subjects, didn't relate to anyone in the class and thought, okay, that's not for me, and that's what we need to change and that's what we want to change. So when I initially chose technical graphics, like I said before, it wasn't until I entered the class and realized that there wasn't so many girls in there that I thought, is this actually for me? And I started questioning it and taking a few steps back, thinking, will I change this subject? And it wasn't until I got the encouragement of my teachers and parents that I thought, okay, I'm good at this subject. I'm able to do it. Why don't I just stick in the class and see how it goes?
Yeah,
So then as I went on through school and naturally you gain more confidence as you get
of
older,
course. Yeah,
then I realized at senior level, I'm capable of doing these subjects. And I think if a lot of girls stuck with those subjects and realize that themselves too, we might have more entering STEM courses, STEM careers, and even introducing it at primary level, I think will build it
of
up even
course. Because
better. But
yeah, because I was even saying to you before we even started recording, like I had never even heard of STEM before until I
mhm,
talked to you. So it's something that I feel like we should really be promoting a lot more.
yeah,
Um, and kind of what careers in STEM do you kind of see? No, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of the way to say this. So, what kind of careers do people get out of STEM? Like, what would be kind of the main careers that you would kind of see coming out of STEM courses?
that is a good question because that's what I think is unique to STEM. Well, there are plenty of jobs out there in other sectors as well, but in STEM, there is new jobs being created every day, every year, with advancements that you see across industries in engineering, in science, technology, maths. There's progress being made always. So this time next year, there might be a new role that wasn't there before. Things like artificial intelligence are
Yeah,
every year advancing. So we can't even keep up with it ourselves, that we couldn't tell you 10 years from now what job could be available to you. So if you're into some ever changing kind of field or want to be in a job that's never going to be the same every day, I think STEM roles or STEM fields, STEM careers, they're definitely applicable for you. So I always thought, let's say, looking stereotypically at a chemist in a lab,
yeah,
what really turned me off wanting to do that initially was in my head, I had all the stereotypical thoughts about what a chemist would be, someone that works by themselves in a lab in a white coat. And
yeah.
it's only a fraction of what we do.
Of
We
course.
still have to network with other people in our labs, work with engineers. We have to be good at communicating. We have to be able to work on a team. So it's not just about working by yourself on these fine little things all the time. That may be a small part of it, but you don't know the whole job until you're in it, let's say. So
Yeah,
I kind of shied away from going into chemistry because of that. And then when I asked people more questions about what's involved in those roles, then realizing that it is a bit more of a versatile role than just working on something small in a lab for a few hours a day.
yeah,
But I think that's the same with all kind of STEM careers. They're just ever changing. So
yeah.
definitely room for flexibility and movement.
Of
Once you pick
course.
a course, you're not stuck in that job at all. There's so much room, so much flexibility.
Yeah, because even just as you were saying there, like a chemist and like just a person in a white coat in a lab. Like I was even just watching something recently and it was showing the chemists who created the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine and they were all women.
Hmm. Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
great to see. And
It's great to
it's
see.
great to see like the kind of promotion of it, and especially from what you've just said there, like there needs to be more women
Yeah,
promoted. There needs to be more equality in it.
exactly.
We do a module here, and it's diversity and inclusion. I actually present
Brilliant.
it,
Okay,
and it's just talking about like how we need more diversity in all aspects of work and all aspects of
absolutely.
school. So what would you kind of say to anyone who kind of feels like they're left out of the industry or feels that kind of way downtrodden or feels like, oh, there's no place for me?
Yeah, I would say ask more questions, look around, see who's working in those roles. And even when I wasn't sure of what the industry looked like in pharmaceuticals, I was lucky to have been in a program that assigned me a mentor that was working in industry. And I just asked her simple questions about, what are the different roles that can be working there, what kind of people are you working with, and what jobs are available, what different sections are there in the pharmaceutical industry, because you're not supposed to know all these things before you go and ask these
Yeah.
questions or before you're working in those jobs. So I think by simply just asking people questions about the field that you want to go into, even when I was in TY and went on experience like in a primary school, in the hospital, I never even went to a pharmaceutical
Of
industry, of course.
course.
So even going to all these different jobs, my main thing was I'm just going to ask at least 50 questions every day,
Yeah.
come away from it, and then see if it is really something that I want to do. So I think asking questions is the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Alice, what is one opportunity that has come to you from your work in STEM that kind of stands out?
One opportunity definitely was taking part in the Johnson& Johnson Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, Maths, Manufacture and Design program, which is shortened into the STEM 2D program. So it's run by Johnson& Johnson in the University of Limerick, and as part of that program, I got to be on a team with different girls that were also in STEM courses, and it was really beneficial, especially for the girls that were possibly the only girls in their STEM course
Yeah.
or one of few, so that we had our own network kind of outside to do with this program. So we were on a team project where we were looking at the stereotypes that or the barriers that faced women in choosing different careers in the STEM field. So ours focused on the chemistry field. So we worked on a project together on that. So it felt like we were reflecting, kind of working on a multidisciplinary team in industry as
Cool.
well, because we all had different backgrounds. We were from different courses, and as I mentioned before about having a mentor, that was from this program, the Johnson& Johnson program. I had a Johnson& Johnson mentor. So that was where my mentor told me plenty about the pharmaceutical industry, and I had the chance to ask her lots of questions in that sense. And then, as part of that program, I ended up becoming an ambassador for the program afterwards. I was
Yeah.
chosen to speak at the Johnson& Johnson headquarters in the States
Oh,
in
wow.
New Jersey. Yeah, it was a very cool opportunity. And then went from there to speak at a conference in Paris, the Women's Forum in Paris in 2018. And then spoke at another conference last year. And yeah, that was a great opportunity to be
Of
part of it.
course.
But I definitely say looking for these opportunities when you do go to university, they won't land on your lap. You do have to go out there and look for them. And I was lucky to stumble upon this program, but I feel like the opportunities I got from it were from what you put into it as well. When you engage, when you're there, you show up and want to be part of it and want to build your network. So much more will come from it. So I would say going into university, definitely look for all these different programs that are out there, get involved in them. You never know what kind of opportunities could come your way. And also through networking, building up your network. I don't think it's spoken about enough as well in university
Never.
how valuable it can be.
LinkedIn is your best
It
friend.
is.
Because I actually got this job from LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it was something that I kind of got into in the pandemic. And it's just so valuable for like
Hmm.
getting a network, and especially online. If you can't meet these people in person at in-person events, it's the best thing
Yes,
you can do.
exactly. And I don't think people realize that you can get jobs through LinkedIn. You can expand your network through LinkedIn. And even in person, when you get to events that you might find through something like LinkedIn or being online, being at events, getting to talk to different people, take their contact, start growing your network, because that's where opportunities come from, finding jobs in the future, or even being part of different conferences, or being invited to talks, or being invited to podcasts like this.
Yes,
You never know where these things could come from. So,
of
yeah,
course.
definitely you have to go and look for them to get those opportunities.
And it's great to be spreading this message, and
Yeah,
great to be kind of getting more people involved in
absolutely. Yeah.
such an important industry. I feel like this industry is not talked about enough, to the point, like all the opportunities it brings. and also all the help it brings society. And,
Absolutely. We
like,
can see through the pandemic how
of
much it was needed,
course,
how much scientists were needed and research to bring out the vaccine as quickly as they did, seeing all the advancements across Europe, all the different industries there, seeing how NASA has grown, seeing all those different industries just thriving from needing all these new students to come through the pipeline for
of
this to continue
course.
and for it to improve even. We need to be introducing the ideas of the importance of STEM at an early age.
Like, even my job is solely through technology that
Hmm.
people have created, like
Exactly.
social
Working from
media,
home, social media.
working from home, social media, um, even when we're sitting down to film this podcast right now.
Hmm.
So one thing I wanted to talk to you about is, obviously, you were doing your PhD.
Yes.
So that is an amazing step to get to, like, through education. I just finished my undergraduate in 2020, so I can't even imagine how much work it's been to get you to this point. So I just wanted to know kind of what, like, the day in the life of a PhD student is like, what
Hmm.
your day consists of, what you have to do, and kind of, yeah, just
Yeah, it's a good question because I had the very same question before I began asking other PhD students, what is it that you do? It sounds like such a big mystery. And I think the mystery comes from it being so different for everybody. There's no fixed routine, there's no set. These are the instructions of what to do every day, which would make it easier on certain days. But like anything, it's different for everyone. So a typical day for me, I suppose at the minute, would consist of maybe coming into work in the morning, going down to the lab, running some experiments in the lab, writing those up, cleaning up the lab. And then luckily now we can, in small groups anyways, meet for lunch with people that are
yeah,
in the office as well. And we have our own desks over there, our own space, our laptops and computers. So then we can then transition onto working on our desk for the afternoon. And through that, we would be looking up different research papers relevant to our project, finding out more information about what people are doing across the world in this field. And as we go, we're kind of refining our work down from a big idea down to the smaller, what we can change, what we can add to the science field. So that's kind of
yes.
the big goal of a PhD, is to add something new to the area that you're working in. So I'm trying to add something new to the pharmaceutical field
Okay, perfect.
in a nutshell.
What is that something new? Can you tell us?
So I'm working with developing fixed dose combination drugs. So we're looking at, let's say, if you take two different medicines, they're going to have a single active pharmaceutical ingredient in
Yeah.
them, and that ingredient is what has the therapeutic effect. So what actually helps you and your symptoms to improve and get better. So that would be your active ingredient.
Hmm.
And if we had two different tablets, they would have a single active ingredient in both of them, but we're advancing to the stage where we can start looking at combining two active ingredients in one tablet. And the reason we're
Okay.
looking at it is let's say you might think of a relative of yours or an elderly relative of yours that might be taking multiple tablets a day. Some people take 10 to 15 tablets a day,
Yeah,
and that's an awful lot of a burden on one person that's trying to manage their own medication at
of
home.
course.
So we've read into it, and even as you're taking more tablets, you're less likely to take them or take them correctly every day, and that can have an effect on your health as well. So it's important to look into this field and change it in some way that we can. So we're looking at combining these API or these active ingredients into a single tablet, so that will reduce the burden but also enhance the performance of the tablet too.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's kind of
I'm
the
just sitting here in
nice.
awe. I'm like, God, there's so much that goes into, you know, this field. Like, I'm just sitting here in
Yeah.
absolute awe. Like,
But
that's
now,
amazing.
saying that, when I was back at school level as a student, I would have no idea what I was talking about just there. So this
Yeah,
comes with time. This comes with going through a college course. So yeah,
but
it's
that's amazing. I really, really hope that happens,
I hope
because,
so too.
it would be great, especially, like, I know, like, my grandparents and stuff, they have, like, these long
Yes,
tablet
me
boxes,
too.
and it,
Exactly. They're
and, like,
labeled Monday,
exactly,
Tuesday,
Monday, Tuesday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday,
But if the
and
box falls and they fall everywhere,
I know
what do you
exactly,
do?
and, like, that would be so handy if they could, like, have their tablet intake,
Exactly.
and
Exactly. That's the goal.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So obviously this is what you're working on for your PhD, but why did you decide to do one in the first place?
Yeah, I suppose I didn't really know myself what a PhD consisted of before I started doing it. And that was one of the first questions I asked when I was asked if I wanted to be on this project for the next few years. And I sort of asked the question, what's involved? What will I have to do? And how will it benefit me? Because they were all the questions I had at the beginning. But I suppose I was looking at it as I was looking at certain jobs in research, and I knew I wanted to work in the field of research, having
Yeah.
worked in industry before. And I realized a lot of those jobs required a PhD. So I thought, okay, that's one thing to consider. If I want these certain job titles that I was looking at initially, this is a requirement in many places. So I didn't want it to hold me back not having it, but also the skills you develop through doing a PhD. And that's why certain jobs do require doing a PhD. Certain job or certain skills that you would develop would be like time management, project management. You're managing your own project for 4 years. Um, Communicating with your project work,
Yeah.
working in a team, networking, going to conferences, learning how to present your work, and knowing how to network with other people in your field once you go to those conferences. And even doing demonstrating in labs, working with undergraduate students, taking tutorials, teaching students. There's so many different skills you can learn through
There's
doing a
so much
PhD,
involved. Yeah.
and so much involved. And that's why I suppose a lot of those jobs that I was looking at were requiring a PhD, because they know you go through this sort of boot camp of
Of course.
developing all
Yeah.
these skills very quickly. But even I've learned since starting it, at the beginning, you might run into some problems and be taken aback by it. But now, as I've developed through the process, when I come across problems, I suppose I can take a step back and think, what's the next step to do? So it kind of, you do learn quickly on the job, is what I'm trying to get across there. I've only been doing it for a year now, but
Yeah.
as I'm going, I'm definitely
Crazy year
seeing
to
that you
do it.
learn very quickly. I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but even some of the things you just said there, like obviously this is going to be broadcast on our PDP program, which is our personal development program for students.
Hmm.
So like we have modules that cover a wide range of skills that you just even said there. So like communication and presentation skills,
Yeah.
time management is one of our modules.
Very good.
So, it's just great that like our students can
Yeah.
see that the
It is
modules they're
essential.
doing
Yeah.
are,
You'll
helping.
keep those skills with you, and you'll use them in any career you go into, no matter what you do, whether it is science, technology, engineering, maths, or a completely different field. Communication skills will always be of value to you. Once you can communicate your work, once you can use your communication skills to develop your network, grow your network, that will be invaluable to you. Like we said earlier about it, creating opportunities for you,
Hmm.
and even time management, like you said, learning how to work with your time, knowing how to be efficient with your time, that's definitely invaluable as well. Some other points, what did we mention? What were the other modules that you
So
said?
there's like communication and presentation skills, time
Presentation as well,
management.
yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many, and it's great to see
Exactly.
that these skills are actually important.
Yeah, and they mightn't necessarily have been included in your course, but it's great that you do them in like a college course, let's say, but it's great that you can do them in courses with Pathway and
Exactly.
develop these outside of what you're doing, because they're definitely essential. They'd help you in any career.
So how obviously you say that you like have to work in the lab, you have to do all these certain things. So how did you kind of adapt that while COVID was happening? Because that
Yeah.
sounds like it's hard to do. You're not going to have a lab in your kitchen. So
Exactly. We were kind of forced to adapt, whether we wanted to or not. But yeah, I had a little bit of a different start to my PhD, because usually you start, you get to know people, you get to know who to ask the questions to, is what I'd imagine anyway.
yeah.
But I started from home. So I had online meeting maybe once a week with my supervisor and with another guy I was working with, just to make sure I was keeping on track. But a lot of it was down to myself. And I suppose at the start, I felt like I was missing out, not being in the lab as much, because I didn't have access to the lab for a while. But it got me thinking that I could do other things that I could do from home. So I was reading more, writing more. And looking back now, it's really helped me, because I had my developed ideas going into the lab as
Perfect.
opposed to starting straight away. So I suppose what the pandemic has shown us is when we have to adapt, it can work out for us as well. Um, at times anyway.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
And like we've seen the importance of STEM over the pandemic,
Definitely.
in all ways. Obviously, you've mentioned the vaccines, but
Hmm.
also our technology, the way we talk.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I
We were
don't
just talking about Zoom earlier.
exactly like I don't think I ever heard of Zoom before the pandemic.
Neither did I.
And it's just mad to see like the importance of it in action.
Absolutely, yeah. Even I don't think I had ever had so many online calls
I know, it's
going in
mad.
so little time. Yeah, it's crazy how much we had to adapt, but it's true. STEM industries has got us to where we
Of
have, you know.
course.
So yeah, just reiterating the point, it's important to think about your options in STEM if you can, because as we can see throughout this last year, all the result of students entering the STEM field has come to all the advancements that we have now, that we can work from home, that we can communicate with one another. We have the technology on our phones. Everything like that is coming through working in a STEM industry.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alice, for this conversation. It was so fun to talk to you about the world of STEM. I've learned so much, and I'm sure the students have learned so much as well. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Reese.
No
Really enjoyed
problem.
it.
Really, really enjoyed it too. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Pathway podcast. If you want to follow our social media, definitely do. It's at My Pathway Journey on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You can find us everywhere. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.